Good morning. It's a beautiful day to be outside. It's sunny, it's breezy, and it's cool. Perfect day for a run. And most of all, listen to that. All I hear are birds. It's nice and peaceful too. Anyway, before I take off on my morning run, I thought I'd share some interesting and motivating thoughts from my health transformation journey with you. Hopefully, you can learn something that will help you to get out and get active.
Alright then, so what are we going to talk about today? We'll start off by talking about my weight loss journey, and then Dr. Smith will give us the science behind why intermittent fasting is beneficial for weight loss, and then Dr. Smith will tell us what clean eating entails, and then Dr. Balduzzi will compare aerobics versus anaerobics exercises, and he'll tell us which one is beneficial for you. And then I'll wrap things up by giving out workout recommendations for you to consider in your workout journey. My workout journey has been a long one. Like for many of you, I've been trying to lose weight and I haven't succeeded. I've pretty much flatlined when it comes to losing weight. I hit a plateau and I've been at that plateau for many years. I've always been a runner. I run 3 days a week. And it didn't seem to be enough. And then on top of that, my career dictates that I sit in front of a computer all day and then get into a car, drive home, and then I would eventually get on a couch, sit and watch TV, or in this case, sleep, take a nap. So, sedentary lifestyles are not good. Not good at all, and that's what has led me to what I am a few months ago, or should I say what I was a few months ago. So, outcomes of sedentary lifestyle. Obviously, I gained weight. I became overweight. I developed high blood pressure. I started taking medicines to control my blood pressure. I eventually became pre-diabetic. I wasn't happy with myself. I wasn't happy with how I looked and even how I felt. Things really didn't look good. Sedentary lifestyle wasn't working out for me, and it's not working for any of you too. A change needed to happen. I got tired of being unhealthy, and I made 3 lifestyle changes. I'll talk about these 3 changes shortly, but for now, you can see these results are amazing. My belly fat, that stubborn belly fat, is all melted away. Most of it at least. And I'm sure in the coming months, all of it will be gone. A lot of fat that was in my thighs is all gone. My face looks slimmer and I feel good. How did I accomplish these changes? Not with a medical procedure. I didn't have a gym membership. I didn't have a personal trainer. I wasn't on a diet. I didn't do any diet pills or supplements. All it took is persistence and a lot of sweat. So here are the 3 lifestyle changes I was talking about earlier. I started the intermittent fasting. I started eating clean and healthy meals. I continued running 3 days a week. And on top of running, I added high intensity interval training to my workout sessions. So 3 days a week. I was shocked when the results started coming in. In 6 months, I lost 20 pounds. My blood pressure returned to normal. Man, no more medication for me. I became stronger. I can now do 40 push-ups. When I started all this, I could barely even do 5. I can run 7 miles comfortably. And I recently completed a half marathon in under 2 hours. My next goal is obviously to run a full marathon, and I'm gonna do it. I look good and I feel good. I am so thrilled with these results. What is intermittent fasting, and what critical role does that play in my weight loss? Let's listen to what Dr. Ian Smith has to say about it.
Let's say what intermittent fasting is.
Okay.
It's not starvation. People see the word fasting and they think that they're not going to eat for a long time.
Right.
It's intermittent, which means on and off fasting. So on and off eating. So basically you have two windows. You have a feeding window or an eating window. You will eat from this hour to this hour, all of your meals and snacks, and that's the only time you'll eat. Then you have what's called your fasting window. Okay. And this is why intermittent fasting works for a lot of things it works for. It works because your body needs energy. All day, while you're sleeping, while you're talking, taking a shower, whatever, having sex, you need energy, okay? Your body typically will get the energy from the food that you eat, the calories.
Okay.
And your body stores calories in the form of glycogen, which is a glucose storage form, and fat. Fat is a storage form of energy. So, when your body needs energy, it takes it from those calories you just ate or you ate a couple hours ago, or it takes it from your stores.
Okay.
If you aren't taking in fresh calories, your body still needs energy. So it says, where am I gonna go to get this energy? Well, the first thing it does is it goes into your liver and your muscles and takes out the glycogen. So it depletes those stores, the inventory, it knocks them all out.
Okay.
Now where do you go? You go to your fat. The body breaks down the fat, converts it to energy, and then you use it to do what you have to do. Now you don't know this is happening, by the way. This is happening obviously microscopically internally, but this is what fasting does. Fasting drives your body away from food energy into fat energy, melts the fat per se, and then you use it.
Okay.
So, intermittent fasting has to work in the sense of you have to be very rigid about your times. And this is what I mean. If you have a feeding window, you have to stick to it. If you extend your feeding window into your fasting window, you're gonna interrupt that fasting period. It's during that fasting period, during that period where you don't have energy, that your body's driving to your fat stores.
Okay.
Now, people say, well, what can I have during my fast? In my way, you can only have about 25 to 50 calories of a beverage. So maybe coffee. If you wanna have some coffee or black coffee or some herbal tea, if the calorie count goes above about 50 calories, then you're gonna switch from burning fat to going to the calories you're consuming.
Wow.
And we wanna keep the body, the switch, we wanna keep it into the fat direction.
Okay.
And that's why you don't what's called break the fast.
Okay.
I implemented intermittent fasting 7 days a week. From 8 p.m. to noon the next day. I don't touch any food. I only drink water. So that means 8 hours of a feeding window and 16 hours of a fasting window. So imagine that 16 hours, majority of that time is spent on burning fat for energy. Your body burns that fat for energy. Let's listen to what Dr. Ian has to say about clean and healthy eating.
Clean eating means reducing the amount of processed foods or ingredients that you're consuming. It doesn't necessarily mean total elimination. It's difficult to not eat anything processed for a long period of time, right?
Yeah.
You can go a couple days, but it's almost very difficult. But processed ingredients, things that have been processed by manufacturers that started like this, and they add synthetic chemicals, preservatives, all these additives into the food, and you see this on the shelf. This process here, this thing here is called processing the food. And then you see the finished product. Things like, chips or, Pop-Tarts, all these things that do not look like how they came out of the ground or off the tree or walking around in the pasture, right?
Okay.
Now, to some degree, you're gonna have to do some processing, but it's the addition of all these synthetic chemicals. And by the way, I wish we had like a package of something to look at. You turn the back of a label of a food item, packaged item, and read what's in there.
Okay.
If it has more than 5 to 7 ingredients, it is highly unlikely that it's a clean food.
Okay, so 5 to 7 ingredients is probably processed.
There's some processed in there. That's the way it is.
Okay.
Because you can't have like 15, clean ingredients in one food. It just doesn't work that way.
Okay.
All the other stuff is, xanthan gum, blah, 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 blah. You name it, right? Things you can't pronounce, I don't even know what they are.
Why is it bad for you though? I hear this all the time, like you don't want stuff with a bunch of preservatives in it. Why is that necessarily bad for your body?
A couple things. First of all, it can, we think that it can have a deleterious effect on your hormones, okay? So these synthetic ingredients can disrupt your body's hormones and throw your hormones in a state of just panic, actually.
Okay.
So that's one reason. The other reason is that we believe that some of these synthetic sweeteners, for example, that some of these things actually can mess with your brain chemistries, right? Artificial sweeteners are 100 to 200 times sweeter than regular cane sugar. Sweeter. And so what happens is when you consume these artificial sweeteners, you have this dopamine response in your brain, which is pleasure, right? It's the pleasure reward pathway. So you eat all this sugar, your brain releases dopamine, the dopamine travels in your brain, it goes to your pleasure center and says, "Ooh, I feel good." So you know what I'm gonna do?
Again.
I'm gonna get more.
Yeah, again.
Right? Because it's like Pavlov's dog, right?
Yes,
So we
yes.
keep going, it's a conditioned response. We keep going to it. So what happens is this, when you eat these synthetic sugars, particularly where I'm right now, when you eat these sugars, you crave more sugar.
Okay.
And more and more and more. And eventually, you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna get regular cane sugar.
Yeah.
And you're gonna consume it like crazy. Well, like you said, when people ask you if you eat clean, I don't eat perfectly. In all of my books, the first thing I tell people is, I'm never gonna ask you to eat perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, let's be realistic. I'm not perfect. I mean, I had Fatburger yesterday.
You did.
I love Fatburger. Like,
too.
it's one of my joints.
Me too.
And so I'll have a burger. Now, do I have Fatburger? I have it maybe once every couple months or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have it. When I go to New York, I'm gonna have a slice of pizza.
Yeah.
It's a New York slice.
That's so good to hear, by the way. Like, I seriously, I think people need to hear that, because I think I have this thing that I teach in my stuff too, that if whatever you're going to begin to do is not something you can maintain, you know, someone hasn't worked out in 2 years, they're like, I'm gonna train for 2.5 hours. I'm like, no, go for 30 minutes, get a workout in, am I right? And so it's so important that you're hearing what Dr. Smith is saying, that it's gotta be something you can maintain. You can have a piece of pizza, right? You can have a piece of cake, it's okay. I do too, I want everybody to know that.
Yes, on my Instagram page, go to my Instagram page, at Dr. Ian Smith, spell the doctor out, I-A-N Smith. You'll see, I'll post pizza, I'll post, like, for example, I'll post at the Chicago Bulls game, I'll have like a rainbow cake. Now, how often do I have it? The cake is this big.
Right.
But I'm gonna eat maybe,
That's what I do.
yeah, like 3 or 4, and I'm good.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
I don't deprive myself, I'm good. And I'll post it to let people know, listen, how can you live life?
Right.
People say, I don't eat carbs. What are you talking about?
Of course you do. Right.
Of course you do.
Right.
And by the way, the number one fuel source for your brain is glucose, is carbs.
Okay.
You need carbs more than any macronutrient. Fat, protein, carbs, you need carbs the most because it's fuel source for the body. Now, the issue is the right carbs, right? So when people come to me and say, oh, I'm following a no carb diet, I look at them like, why? Because you read it in People magazine?
So your energy level is zip all the time, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
What do marathon runners do the night before a marathon?
Carb up.
They carb up.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, you need carbs.
Yep.
So my whole point is that I think that people have to have a better understanding.
Absolutely no diets, period. Just like Dr. Ian said, you can't sustain a diet for too long. You want something you can sustain for years and years to come. I don't do any diets. I eat simple yet tasty meals. And what does that mean? These are meals that are not rich in fat or sugars. And then I don't deprive myself. I allow myself a cheat day. Sunday is my cheat day, when I can eat whatever I am craving. Could be a pizza, could be a burger, could be fries, anything. But don't deprive yourself. Aerobic versus anaerobic exercises. Let's see what Dr. Balduzzi has to say about that.
All right, so aerobic versus anaerobic exercise differences. The first thing is I want to define both these terms. So aerobic actually means with oxygen. So this is any kind of exercise where our body's normal breathing and oxygen intake is sufficient to fuel the exercise. So these are going to be lower intensity exercises, things like walking and jogging, things like lower intensity biking or hiking. And the rule of thumb for aerobic exercise is this, that if you and I are exercising and we're able to talk while we're exercising just like this without gasping for breath, typically that means we're in an aerobic zone. And I'm sure if you've ever been to a gym before, you've seen some of those aerobic zone heart rate charts that says, okay, this is your heart rate, this is your age, you're in this aerobic zone, and here's an example of one of these charts. And it's certainly a good rule of thumb to take roughly around 65%, 60 to 65% of your max heart rate. An easy way to calculate that is take the number 220, subtract your age, and then multiply that by 0.6 or 0.65, and that's roughly your aerobic heart rate zone. So for most guys we help here at the Fit Father Project, guys in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who want to lose weight, an aerobic heart rate zone is going to be anywhere around 100 to 120 beats per minute. And that's a good rule of thumb, but yours might be different, so you can do this calculation. We have some stuff in the description too that lays out the exact formula, so you can look at that. Now, what is anaerobic exercise? Well, an is the prefix that means without. So that means without oxygen. So this is exercise that is of a sufficient intensity that our normal breathing and oxygen intake is not sufficient to fuel the exercise. And so why is this important? Well, these are higher intensity exercises like lifting, like circuit training, like high intensity interval training. And this is the point where normal breathing cannot fuel the metabolic pathways, the aerobic pathways, so our body has to rely on different kinds of fuel sources. So let's look at the difference in the fuel sources. Back to aerobic exercise primarily burns fat and carbohydrates, with a big emphasis on fat. And have you ever heard the idea that there's a fat burning zone? That's basically meaning that you're exercising in an aerobic rate. It's not so intense that your body can use oxygen to burn fat in the mitochondria to give you the ATP to fuel the exercise. So without getting too sciencey, basically fat is a primary fuel source of aerobic exercise. But what happens is when exercise becomes anaerobic, it becomes of a higher intensity. We're breathing harder. We're no longer able to do the walk and talk rule anymore, and we're doing something like intervals and we're gasping for breath next to each other. Then we can no longer burn fat as fuel to fuel the actual activity. This is where we reach this anaerobic threshold, if you will. And the kinds of things that are burned in anaerobic exercise are carbs, certain amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, and even things like lactic acid. Our body can recycle as we produce lactate. We can recycle that and fuel it for energy. And so this is the big difference. When you hear a lot of people talk about fat burning exercise, they're like, oh, aerobics burns fat. Anaerobic exercise does not, because it burns carbohydrates, amino acids, etc. But it's not quite that simple. Yes, your primary fuel source in aerobic exercise is fat, and you can certainly go for a walk for an hour and burn 300-400 calories, and that's great. And let's say you did a 30-minute high-intensity interval training session. Yes, you'd primarily be burning carbohydrates during that session. The glycogen, the stored carbohydrates in your muscles, are going to fuel those sprints on the bike. But after the fact, you get this metabolic lift effect called EPOC. And what that does, your metabolism is actually increased after high intensity exercise, and you may burn an extra 15-20% calories for the next several hours after your workout. And those calories you burn after the workout are coming from fat because they're at rest. So ultimately, which of these is better? And the answer is both of them. The research supports that both of these types of exercise improve your health, improve your cholesterol levels, improve your bone density, improve your muscle mass. So there are some subtle differences that we'll get into in just a moment, but both of them are great. So the first thing that I say to people is, if you're interested in either of these, which one of these fits your personality best? Are you the kind of person that likes, the long hikes or the endurance kind of stuff? Do you gravitate more towards that? Or are you more of a lifter, a sprinter kind of person? And maybe you're a mix of both like me. But point being is both of these confer benefits, and one of these is not definitively better than the other. When it comes to exercise, you want to pick something that you love, that you can stick to, that doesn't feel like work, it's actually enjoyable. And maybe that's a hybrid of both of these, or maybe you really lean towards more of aerobic, or maybe you lean towards more anaerobic. Now, there are differences, and the anaerobic is slightly unique in the sense that the kinds of exercises that are anaerobic are typically better for muscle building, and not typically, definitively better for muscle building. Lifting weights, doing high intensity circuits, like some of the stuff we teach here at the Fit Father Project, will help you build muscle. And that is by nature anaerobic exercise. It is of such a high intensity that your muscles cannot rely on fat as a fuel source. So if your goal is to improve your physique, to put on some muscle mass, you're going to be doing anaerobic exercise. And then it is certainly a good idea to pair that with aerobic exercise on your off days, on those rest days between workouts. You might be doing, a light walk, jog, or cardio on your off days from your lifting days. So that's a good hybrid plan, but they both work.
For me, I chose the anaerobic type of exercises. Pretty much run, and I pretty much do the high intensity interval training. 1 hour each day, 3 days a week. So that's pretty much 3 hours in a week, which is not too bad. My objective is actually to trigger EPOC, as Dr. Balduzzi mentioned. And what that is the afterburn. Hours after you're done with the workout, your body is still burning fat for energy. Here's a breakdown of what my week looks like. On Sunday, I run 6 to 7 miles for an hour, inside or outside depending on the weather. I have a treadmill in my basement, so I run inside if it's too hot or too cold outside. On Tuesday, I do 30 minutes of Sean T's upper body workout. It's pretty intense. Pretty much focuses on your upper body strength, and you burn a lot of calories and shed a lot of sweat.
Go. Here's 1 and 2 and 3. Other side, go. Here's 1. Go. In. Look at my triceps working. In. 3. Come on. 4. Out. 5 seconds. 4. 3. 2. Take 30 seconds. Good job. 10. 9. Come on. 8. 7. 5. 4. 3. 2. Right leg up. Go. 10. 9. 12. 11. Come on. 10. 9. 8.
And then I finish it up with a 3-mile run for 30 minutes. So another hour on Tuesday. Then Thursday, I do 30 minutes of Funk Roberts dumbbell workout.
Beside you, we're squatting down and back up. So this is round 1. In round 1, we always want to move at a, relative. Good. Roll back by your hips, elbows tight, core tight. Really focus on the obliques and your core. Try not to rotate too much. We're just doing work. Exhale. Keep the elbows tight to the body.
And then finish it up with a 3-mile run for 30 minutes. All the workouts I've showed you today are free and available in YouTube. Isn't that amazing? But if they do not seem appealing to you, I have 2 additional options that you can use. The first one is called hasfit.com. hasfit.com. It's pretty much a website that contains a library of various workouts for different type of people, different type of fitness levels, and different type of equipments. Okay, hasfit.com. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Scroll down to the bottom. There's a button called Find a Workout. Click on that. And then here we go. Here's where you can filter out the workouts. There's numerous amounts of workouts here. You can filter it out based on fitness level. Filter by workout type. Multiple options here. And by muscle group. And then equipment. If you have no equipment, you want to choose body weight. That's the best one for you with no equipment. And there you go. That's a lot from Hasfit. The other option is Toni Mitchell. This might be appealing to the women. She has good workouts that make you sweat and make you work hard and give you results. I recommend her too. So check her out. She's on YouTube free. Just search for Toni Mitchell and you will find her. So there you go. The ball is in your court. You need to be determined and be consistent. And then your results will come. All the best in your journey, and hope you have as much success as I have and enjoy your process as much as I have.